Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where I just finished up a servicing mission to this particular craft. And I realized at the end that our solar panels are in line with the solar tank, or rather with the tanks here. That could create us a problem. We're just gonna have to make sure our roll is correct on the way out to the moon. Like, it's a workable problem, but I redid all of the strut work and the fuel line on this side, and that is all connected correctly now. So now we're ready to head out to the moon. So let's set the moon as our target. Sometime around here, we'll add a maneuver, and we're going to head out this direction-ish. Now, that's actually really solid. That's a retrograde direction there, and we could just dial that in a little bit. Can I get this maneuver, please? I want to select the existing maneuver. No? Okay, there we go. We got it. Fantastic. So I want to attempt to dial this in a little bit through timing. Yes. Sometime around here. That's maybe a little too low. It's very sensitive. Somewhere around here or so. Sounds good. Okay, let's align to that node. And let's get that lined up. We want to make sure that we have our tanks here. Like, currently we're not necessarily in the orientation that we want. I want to roll us over in such a way that... What is this roll direction? Hang on. We're controlling from the wrong point, aren't we? Control from here. Yeah, we're controlling from the wrong point. So I want to roll us in such a way that our tanks are this way to the sun, right? So, well, actually, in theory, that doesn't actually do anything. The roll doesn't matter here. It's our actual attitude post-burn. Because as we can see right now, this photovoltaic panel has direct sunlight, which is mildly surprising. This one also has direct sunlight, which is also mildly surprising. So, that's intriguing. We'll have to keep an eye on that. For the time being, let's not physics warp. Let's regular warp on around and get ready for this burn. Now, we're going to have to burn pretty early on this. I'm going to burn at about, well, right about now, actually, at about T-minus 7 minutes. And let's physics warp here. So we're going to have to do a pretty long burn, a much longer burn than the game thinks that we're going to need to do, because we are not utilizing our mainsails, right? We're just using our high specific impulse poodles for higher efficiency. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that this is an efficiency upgrade over using the mainsails. Now that I think about it, you know what? I'm going to activate the mainsails here. We're probably better off giving up the specific impulse to not have that really long burn time. Let's warp forward. And let's finish off this burn with the mainsails. I want to see how that feels. We want to know exactly how much fuel this is going to take out of these side tanks, right? And I believe we're pulling fuel from all tanks. Yes, that is accurate. Okay, commence burn now. With the mainsails, our thrust to weight is significantly better. It's not perfect, but at least our calculations here are better. And we'll probably lose less fuel to correcting our trajectory, I think. This is probably about the same, and we can get through the burns much faster. So we'll try it this way and see how it goes. If we need to eke out some more efficiency out of the engines, we can attempt to do that. But for now, I'm going to prioritize a faster burn time. So that seems good. 3, 2, 1, 0. This is good enough, I'm sure. How are we looking? Oh, this is internal within the moon. Okay, so we want to bring that out a little bit, for sure. Okay, we'll call it good about here. Cool. Now, let me warp a little bit here, because sometimes we've noticed that this moves on us, and it hasn't done it here. It actually hasn't done it for a while, but whenever it happens, it always sneaks up on me. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to do that to us there. It wasn't. So now we're going to do a retrograde burn here and just circularize this. That'll be about 250 meters per second. Sounds good. Now, how much fuel did we end up burning here? I want to pin these guys open and then flow the fuel in here. And then we'll do the same thing up over this way. We should be aligning to the node while we're doing this, by the way, and so we'll just do that. So I just want to not touch the fuel in the starship itself here. is the overall plan. But we'll see if we have enough fuel to do that. The return journey could be an interesting one as well. Okay, so we're just going to do something like this. There we go. And we might target a higher orbit than 200 as we're coming back. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But I'm interested in seeing just how much fuel we have left over. Looks like about 2/3. Or not 2/3. Looks like about 1/3. Somewhere thereabouts. So that seems okay. Let's orient around for this burn. And warp on forward and enter the sphere of influence of the moon. Okay, this did change a little bit on us there, but it's not too bad. Noted. We should be in a reasonable trajectory. So that seems fine. We can unpin these open. This is still going to drain from the center core, but I wanted to see how much fuel we had left, and it wasn't too bad, all things considered. So that looks good. Now we're just going to come in around here. This is fine. I'm okay with this slightly altered trajectory. Not a major problem there, but I do want to delay when this burn happens. Can I open this, please? I want to move this. Oh, we're control locked right now. Why are we control locked? We don't have any connection, so I guess we can't move this. We can just do our burn here. This is fine. At least we have power. That's a good thing. So we're in the correct orientation for that. Let's just warp forward about 20 seconds, 10, and let's commence this burn here. It's not exactly where I want the burn to be, but since we have limited probe control, this is the best we can do for right now. Okay. So that looks good. We should have better probe control on the other side of Kerbal, so that is absolutely fine. I'm going to stop this burn right about there. And we definitely need... Oh, we can't get rid of this. I guess that's fine. We can warp around to here. Okay, we'll have to manually warp it because we can't warp to here while we have a maneuver here. Okay, that's fine. So, are we going to get probe control back when we clear here? Yeah, we're good. Okay, so that looks fine. I'm going to do a slight corrective burn here to circularize this a little bit better. This would have been better if we hadn't have had no probe control and the change in our flight trajectory, but it's manageable. Okay, let's align to that node. That's only going to be a 20 meter per second burn, and we did burn some fuel here, but certainly less. No doubt about that. And once we transfer all of this fuel out, our thrust to weight is going to get much, much higher. So a little bit of fuel is going to go further. So that'll be good. We're going to warp around here. Just getting ourselves into position for this circularization burn. 7 minutes on that. Okay, warping a bit further here. And 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. That'll do. We overshot it slightly, but I don't care. So next up, our Starship HLS is our target. So what are we going to need to rendezvous with that? Well, it'll need to be a retrograde burn. We're coming in from above. And let's see about timing here. Ooh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good indeed. So we're going to be able to just bring this guy right on in, change this timing a little bit to be, ooh, that's really solid. Yep. I like it. 2.5 kilometers. Let's go. So we're going to align to that. And that all looks very, very good. We have burned a little bit of fuel from our center stack, but this is only 7.2 meters per second. To be honest, at this point, I'm going to shut down our mainsails again, because we need very little thrust to weight to make these alterations, right? We're going to have to warp around the moon a couple of times here, I think, but that's absolutely fine. Maybe just once. Yeah, it's only one orbit, looks like. No, there's definitely more. It's going to be several orbits here, and that is absolutely A-okay. Cool. So we're going to be in position for this burn, and the burn will commence in about a minute. Looks good. 7.2 meters per second. This is a very, very minute burn here. 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Now, it's going to be a little longer than the game thinks it will be, but it shouldn't matter. Okay. This is probably good enough at this point. I'm going to switch over into target mode. Okay, we can see our relative speed here. Yeah, this is good enough. And from here, we're going to want to warp to about here. So off we go. We can see our relative speed is quite low. Where are we in relation to the HLS? There it is, 6.4 kilometers out. So I'm going to align us up over this direction. I'm going to do a prograde burn first and then a retrograde burn as we get a little closer in. So we'll do some corrections out over here, burning about here or so. This momentum is a little much. Okay. Yeah, somewhere around here. We should be on kill rod. Okay. So that's going to get us a little bit closer, but it's not going to be ideal. Let's head around over to relative velocity minus, and we're going to need to get a little bit closer here. No doubt about that. Let's focus the Starship HLS for right now, and we can warp in somewhere around here, but I want to get us flipped first. We want to make sure that that flip actually occurs. And what's our relative speed going to be once we get here? 22.4. That is not much. Okay. Noted. So, we can now warp to about... Oh, don't want to be here. We can now warp to about here or so. About 2 minutes into the future. So that looks solid. We are getting closer and closer to the Starship HLS. How are we doing on power? We should be absolutely fine on power. No problem whatsoever. We're now about 1.5 kilometers away. I want to do a quick corrective burn, which is going to be out this direction. I want to be at kill rot for the moment. Okay. Something about like that. And now we're going to move to relative velocity minus. So this is now a differentiation of 0.0 kilometers. We are likely on a collision course. Beautiful. I'm going to open our shield back up here, and I'm not sure if this shield is closed or not. Okay, we're currently about 700 meters out. I'm just going to keep holding this trajectory for now until we are somewhere around, I don't know, maybe 300 meters away. We don't want to impact at this speed, that's for sure. 500 meters away. 450. 400 meters away. 350. And commencing braking burn. Yeah, this looks fine. We're not going to have any real problem with that. So we're now moving in at only about 3 meters per second, and that's okay. Let's just warp in a little closer. We can see that we have a little bit of drift here. This is perfect. I love this positioning so much. I'm going to let us move back a little bit and commence a braking burn here. We just want to get rid of our relative momentum right now. Okay. Going to use RCS here. And there we go. RCS off, please. Okay, next up, we're going to point at target. And I want this shielded docking port to be our target. We're going to switch over to here, and we're going to control from here, setting this to be our target. And we're going to point at it. Fantastic. And we, of course, just need to refuel this thing, right? So that is indeed exactly what we're going to do here. We'll head in and make sure that it is fully refueled. We don't need to bring any monoprop or anything. I'm a little surprised that this monoprop is 1583. It's pulling from that, I guess, instead of the others. Interesting. Well, for now, we're going to head in using just monoprop here. I'm going to head in at about 0.3 meters per second. Should be A-okay for the time being. And we can make a couple of minor trajectory alterations. They shouldn't be very necessary on the way in. We're in a good spot here to get this docked. Fantastic. This is, of course, going to be the majority of the mass of this being transferred into the HLS. So that is absolutely noted. And in we come. This is looking great. Clean docking. Perfect. That's what we want to see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin open all of these tanks. We want to get all of them completely full with this single mission. So it's just the 4, right, on this? Yes, just these 4 tanks. So we can move this out. Not like that's going to take very long. We can move this guy out. Excellent. That's not a lot of fuel. We can move you out. That's going to be a decent amount of fuel, but not, you know, huge. And then you out. That's going to be a little more fuel. But the real key is going to be these 2. And then the question is, how much extra are we going to have to pull from these? We'll see. This is going to be a good amount of fuel from both of these 2. No doubt about that. So we're able to deliver quite a lot of fuel. Certainly. The question is, how much are we going to need to get back? And how much are we going to fill this with, right? So these all get completely emptied. These I'm hoping to not completely empty while getting this all full. And I think that will indeed be the case. This is almost half full as it is. And we've got another, like, almost full tank here. So that's looking really solid. Let's warp this a bit as this fills. Okay, we are nearly full, for sure. So we're going to pull some additional fuel out of this tank. And is that going to fully fill us? Yes, we are full. Beautiful. So that's the HLS refueled at this point. It has no additional fuel tanks other than these 4. So we got almost all of the fuel out of this tank, and this tank still has some remaining. We're going to want this to be balanced, so I'm going to move all of this fuel into the central tank here, because we want this mass to remain equal. Otherwise, we could have potentially some issues with attitude control. So we're definitely going to do that, and you are going to be moved out. There we go. So we can see we have some amount of fuel remaining. Now we can undock here, which we're going to do. And we're going to pull back and away a little bit. I want to be on kill rot. There we go. Pulling back and away. We do have some monoprop that we can use for this as well, but we see we have 1144 meters per second left here. Okay, at this point, I'm going to reactivate our mainsails. That seems good. And around here or so, we want to do a prograde burn, bringing us back on a return trajectory. Ideally, we'd like to target about that same 200 kilometers, but it could certainly be higher if we wanted it to. But I think 200 kilometers will work. Okay, so this is going to be 276.4. If we wanted to circularize from here, what would that look like in terms of delta V? It's a fair amount, no doubt about that. We've got enough. Okay, we have enough. So I'm not going to do this just yet. We'll recreate that, but I want to make sure that we are in position for this. Let's align to this node. Cool. So it would appear that this is going to be a viable option, and this is going to save us a lot of time and a lot of fuel just by creating this thing. That's fantastic. We should also definitely consider, if I can select this, closing this shield. Not like that does anything, but it looks better, right? So 20 seconds here until this burn. And 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. And off we go back to Kerbal. Fantastic. So that's 4.3 meters per second. Okay, that's fine. Oh, we can't, we have no data right now. Gonna have to be very careful about this. Okay, overshot by 1 meter per second. That's probably fine. So let's see what that put us at. 193. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So we're going to need to warp at this point until we get a connection back. There we go. And we can commence a braking burn about here. This is going to be the last high delta V maneuver at this point, and we're going to have to budget about 800 meters per second, so about 1,000 total meters per second. It's going to be pretty close, no doubt about that. 867 meters per second, but that seems viable. We can toss in a little bit extra delta V from monoprop if we need to. So I'm pretty pleased with how this has played out, all things considered. Let's just get into position for this burn. And I don't really like the roll that we're on right now. I want to roll a little bit more like this for better solar panel coverage, but that'll be okay. And we're not exactly heading to this node, are we? Let's head to the node. There we go. And let's warp on forward. Beautiful. So we are heading back to Kerbal. We don't need to re-enter. All we need to do here is get back into our parking orbit at around 200-ish kilometers. We could definitely make that parking orbit be higher in the future if we felt like it was necessary. It would mean slightly more fuel from our tankers to refuel this. But overall, I think it would maybe end up working out in our favor. But we've got about 40 seconds until this burn here. 20 seconds, 10 seconds, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Fantastic. And we're braking. So we're just entering a parking orbit here. Technically, at this point, this would be fine. It would be a little awkward to intercept, but we could do it. So we can actually, in theory, shave off a fair amount of that required delta V. Okay, let's just get this last little bit here. This is good enough. That'll do. We'll put this in kill rot. We've got 71 meters per second left. So that definitely is a little bit on the dicey side. It's low margin, right? No doubt about that. But I think that that's a super viable thing, all things considered. So at this point, we can launch additional tanker flights to replenish this, and I think now that this system has been proofed, we're going to get a payment for every tanker flight, but some of those tanker flights are probably going to end up happening off camera because it's going to take, I would estimate, at least 4 tanker flights to refuel this. Is my current thinking. It's going to be at, well, bare minimum. I don't see it being less than 3. It might be as many as 5. We'd have to test that, but that's going to be a lot of flights, right? A lot of rendezvous, a lot of flights, a lot of dockings, a lot of refueling. And refueling is not exciting. No doubt about that. So a lot of that is likely going to happen off camera in the future, but that's absolutely fine. We can get this refueled fairly easily, especially if we get to the point where we're re-entering pretty regularly with the Starship tanker and recovering that. That would be great. But I do also want to say that we should be, now that this system is proofed, we should be getting paid for our tanker flights. So we'll do that. That'll be absolutely fine. It is about time to put a cut in here, and this is a good time to do so anyway. And next episode, we're going to send another Artemis mission up. I don't know how many of the Artemis missions we're going to do either. We need to decide on that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible. Oh, I almost forgot. Hang on. Wrong button. Wrong button. I almost forgot. We need to get paid for that mission. So, there we go. We got paid for the mission. Excellent. I'll save that. Perfect. As I was saying, a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kentogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.